Hello and welcome back. In our last episode, we were working to get the nuclear power plants up and running, and we're most definitely still a long way off. So far, we have our steel factory done for it and our copper facility, but there are still 3 big parts that we need to overcome before we can make this save available to you guys. Oh, and did I mention this is the penultimate episode of this Let's Play series because update 6 is about to come out and we're going to start a new one for various reasons. I'll probably do a video on why soon. Obviously, I want to build the nuclear power plants here, and the idea is that though we can provide for 50, we're only going to power 5 and then sink the rest. I had wanted to do nuclear recycling, but I think that's going to be a bit of work to get into prior to update 6's release. We'll see how I feel about that. But in order for these 5 nuclear power plants to work, we're going to have to produce the uranium fuel cells. That is going to be happening in a factory here. So that's the next thing that we're going to be doing. We're going to have to work out how we're going to get the resources to this section and build the uranium fuel cell factory here. And as I'm getting the uranium ore from up here, we're also going to need to get our drones working, which means I'm going to have to build batteries, which I think will fit quite snug here. So let's get started, and we're going to clear out all of this. And if you're going to clear out all of this, there's only one way to really do this, right? That's with Nobelisk. Unless you have nuclear Nobelisk. I'm so looking forward to getting my hands on that. But we're just going to cover this whole area with explosives. Anyway, we're going to cover all of this, and then I will let you see what happens to it. Well, it looks like we're ready. I can thankfully say that I have cleared out the whole forest. There is no life there. You do not need to worry about any hogs or anything. They're all safely evacuated. So now we're just going to get rid of this and see what happens. Ah, beautiful. Oh. Yes, get rid of it. Oh, I don't know how he's just survived that. That is not fair. Okay, so looks like we need a few more Nobelisk, but generally speaking, we've done pretty well with all of this. So I've just started laying the foundations for this area. We're just going to coat the whole thing. This is what we're starting with. We may extend it out further. I decided we'd have like a nice little foyer here, which is where we'd get off the train and enter this part of the factory. And I think we'll produce the wet concrete that we need here. And the encased industrial beams will be here because we're going to have the steel beams being brought in from, I think, some train stations in this location. We'll have the blenders along here. It's probably better that I do this for you than just talk about it, because otherwise you're just going to be confused. Before moving on to the actual uranium cell factory, it occurred to me that I kind of need to make sure that I can bring all the resources in before we start working all that out. Which is why I've demolished this train station here, because I realized we need more stations. We need more resources to come in. So I built these 2 stations instead. I know it's a weird shape, isn't it? But I kind of wanted to follow the edge of the actual terrain. And it's certainly not perfect, but I actually like the way that it looks. Okay, so I've had to extend this a little bit more, but I'm going to talk to you about everything that's going on here. And yes, this is the layout that should, thanks to all the items we're receiving at this train station area, should be able to produce 10 uranium fuel cells per minute. So let's break it down. First off, we have the 5.625 refineries of wet concrete. So one of these is underclocked to 62.5. This is producing all of the wet concrete that we need in order to go towards the encased industrial beams, but also the encased uranium cells that are in the blender as well. Yes, the logistics are going to get a little bit hectic. These are obviously the encased industrial beam assemblers, so we've got 5 of them running at 100%. And then we also have what's supposed to be 20 blenders producing the encased uranium fuel cells. There's not 20, there's 10, and we're just going to overclock them by 100% each because... well, I don't have the room here for that. Unless we could double them up on top, but I don't really want to do that. The other thing is that because I am load balancing this, it is going to get quite hectic in terms of the amount of space that we have for the load balancing. So I'm trying to conserve space where possible. We then have in the center, this is the 12 0.5 electromagnetic control rod assemblers per minute. So one of these is underclocked to 50%. That's a lie. One of them is overclocked by 50%. And then all of these will be heading to the 10 manufacturers we've got here. We actually need 25 of these. So we're going to overclock these each to 250% in total. Well, I've done a fair amount of the logistics. I still need to make sure that the inputs like here are connected with all of these. And the same with, I just saw this a moment ago, this section of the concrete needs to be linked up to here. But you can see we've kind of boxed in the manufacturers. My idea behind that was to make it more of a secure area for workers to keep them away from radiation. And then we also have a load balancer on top. And the reason for that is with radiated resources, we don't want to have long manifold lines that are saturated because that makes the area very radiated. And this is the load balancer that I've done for the 10 manufacturers. It actually looks pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I was very surprised with how it's gone, and I am liking it, and it looks pretty cool in here. I think what we might do eventually when we've got a bit of time, hopefully if we have some, will be to add some lighting into here because this could look really cool. And I'm also yet to do the inputs for all the blenders because they're going to be done from above, especially with the uranium ore coming in from drone. So that's going to be above all of that, and then they'll feed into their own load balanced lines. So this is what I've managed to construct. It's still not finished. There are still bits that I want to do. We still need to bring the items in and also work on the entrance and add a bit more decoration. And you can even see where we're going to have the uranium fuel cells coming out and then heading up. But the point is that the uranium fuel cells will run along across the track and over to the nuclear plants. The inside is quite clear and open, and that's very much thanks to having these walkways across the top. And I absolutely love the strip lighting that we've done across the top. At the very top, we also have the floor that is for the load balancing logistics. So if we come in here, you can see kind of how everything is load balanced that end and then run along to their own splitters. There is one thing that I haven't prepped yet though, and that is the sulfuric acid that's going to be coming in and also out and being recycled into this whole process. And along with that, we're also going to need to produce some batteries for our drone port because at the moment I'm broke, I have none. Thinking about it, this would be the perfect spot for the sulfuric acid. There we go. Much better. I've also had chance to work on the little tunnel which is going to take the uranium cells to the fuel plants, and we're not going to have that top nuclear power plant on the top. It's actually going to be on the middle shelf. And then I've also played around with the actual design of the plant itself. So what I want to do is to use signs down the middle that are going to be a really bright green to try and stand out a bit like the green down there. In fact, probably the same green. And then we'll have these big bulking walls at either side, so you can only see the green if you're directly in front of it. Yeah, I think this is going to work. Another thing that I'm doing, I've placed these barriers just halfway into the foundation, and so we're just going to cover them with this wall and run this to the top to give us a bit more of a sense of depth. So we're grabbing the, I hope I've got this the right size. Check. You can see what we've done here. It's given it a bit more depth, and so we're going to go up every I think one more actually. Yeah, every 3 signs. Oh, look at that. Positively delightful. I love decorating. I love putting the time into it. I always feel rushed when I'm doing the streams, so this is really nice. I also like the sidewall kind of depth that we've given it with a mixture of the coated pillars and the walls, and then also the pillars as well. I really like that. The next thing that I need to do here is roof it and add like an atomic symbol. I hope that's the correct term for it. And then after that, we're actually going to go and work on the battery plant because I decorate to reinvigorate myself to do more factory work. Factory work can sometimes be a bit boring. decorating is what I live for in this game. So we're going to do a bit of decorating, finish the roof and the sign, and then go back to the battery, and then we'll return to this. So I kind of did a thing and it looks really cool. I love what we've done with the atomic symbol at the top, or that's radiation, right? Not atomic. And if you're wondering how I did this sign, it doesn't look so neat up close, but it's actually tons of small pillars, which I've placed horizontally, and then from there we've used them as a snapping point. And each one of these, I think it's 6 intervals, 4, 5, 6, yeah, and then it's 6 off, 6 on, 6 off, 6 on, you get it. And we've kind of got this. I don't know if it doesn't quite look like like the circle looks good, but the outer circle, it's not quite circular. It's like oblong. Is that the right word? It looks like a fat circle. Anyway, to the batteries. So this is the spot that I've chosen for the batteries. And the idea is going to be that one train station runs and takes the batteries back up along this long line over to the factory, and then there'll be another train station probably around here that picks up various resources. Like we need bauxite. I think there's bauxite nodes over there, and there's also oil that we're going to need for the petroleum coke, for the aluminium, and I think we're going to need to grab some sulfur as well, which is from over there, but we can just conveyor that. And this is where we're going to produce our batteries. Oh, and if you hadn't realized, the quartz that we're going to need, just here. Okay, so this is a little more what I had in mind. So this station will take the batteries back, and this one will collect the resources. We might need to extend this, so I'll keep that open. And you can see that I've managed to run a line all the way over there. And someone was complaining about support, so I decided to add a few here. Maybe we'll do some more later on. In fact, the plan is to have supports all along all of my rails eventually, but if we pop over there, you can see that I'm a little behind. I'm trying to work out what I can do with the excess water which we may have, and I think the solution would be to create with extra plastic containers and then pack it into water to be sunk. So I'm just going to place them. Oh, I can't. I'm out of resources. But I'll show you what we've got so far. So these are going to be producing silica, which is going to foundries to produce aluminium ingots, which are then being sent to these two lovely aluminium casing constructors, which then go up to our battery section. Down here we also have this selection of refineries, all dedicated to sulfuric acid, and then over here we have the alumina solution. Now the problem with all of this is we do have quite a lot of byproducts going back into the system. So as you saw me just a moment ago thinking about what I can do with the water, we also have to be careful with other resources as well. But the alumina solution's going across to become aluminium scrap over here to go to the foundry, and the excess alumina solution is going along and under the floor to this area where it will go up. And the plan is, if I can make it look nice, to have the pipes drop down into here. No rest for the wicked. Oh, and the train's bringing in oil and water. Yeah, you can see there. I've worked it out. I've pushed this back, and you can see we're doing exactly what I mentioned. We've got a sink that's not yet connected, but it's okay. We haven't got the resources coming in yet. You can see we've also belted all of this up, and I've done a little bit of artistic decorating here, just a bit of empty space that we have, and you can see we've got a raised pipe here. The idea with a raised pipe at the end is that it overflows to where we need it to go, so it's going over to the canisters to become packaged water, only if it overflows from this pipe. So that's why we have that. And oh yeah, the piping over here we've got the alumina solution and the sulfuric acid going up and across and then down to here. Quite nice, quite neat and clean. And then plumbing water. I didn't even realize that we had to worry about the byproduct of water from the blenders. So I was setting everything up and then I realized that, oh, batteries have water that they need to output. So what we're doing with this is just sending this all the way back down to that area to feed back into, the sulfuric acid, this one. The other thing that I've done is some supports. I said I would, and here we are with supports across the whole of my factory. Well, my world. I've done this throughout the canyon trains as well as over by the nuclear plant. And I'm particularly happy with the supports that I've done for this down ramp. A lot of people in chat were really frustrated with it and said it was triggering their OCD, but I kind of like it on the wonk. Let me know, guys, what you think to it in the comments below. Should we keep it or should we change it? And this is where we're at with it. So you can see we've added strip lighting across the top, and also we've done some more lighting this side. Now, these are signs, but they're giving off the kind of feel of them being lighting, because underneath here we have an actual light giving off real light. And then we've covered that with a T-junctioned walkway, and that allows the light to come through. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I've just flushed the whole system. So whilst we're waiting for everything to start building up again and the batteries to start producing, I'll show you what I've done elsewhere in the world. I say elsewhere, but the only thing that I've done is actually all of these lights across the train highways. It's a very simple system and it's out of the way of the actual trains, so I'm pretty happy with it. And this just runs all the way along, and I haven't noticed too much of a drain on actual FPS in game. So hopefully you guys will be able to check this save out and play it yourselves when it goes live in a couple of weeks. Really looking forward to sharing it with you. Oh, and not to forget, I've also added just a basic roof to the top of this for now. I'll admit it's not the most beautiful of factories, but I kind of like the overhanging of both the rail but also the battery blenders. And if you look carefully enough, you can actually see a few of those batteries running along. It's not running at 100% yet though. Still, I can't complain with that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to our amazing supporters, most notably our TotalXclipse patrons, The Calamity, Cerebral Tag, James Irwin, and Firefless, as well as our Lunars, Dixie Chris, Lord of July, and Ben, and our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Papa Snoozy. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.